Well, thank you for joining us today on the Theta Living Show. My guest, Tony Hornick, today is here to help me talk to you about your options. Too often we rush right into treatment and we don't take time to stop and think about what's going on. We don't allow ourselves the opportunity to revisit our home base, which houses our values, our core beliefs, and what we truly feel is in our best interest for the healing process that we need when a cancer diagnosis comes our way. So I am going to ask Tony some questions here, and I'm going to ask you on a personal level. We were chatting prior to this, and the whole reason that we're doing this interview is because you have a pretty unique experience yourself, Tony. You went to the physician's office and you were there for a checkup, some concerns you had, and in this, the results of this doctor's visit came some news that if you didn't have a wide working base knowledge of what to do with this kind of information, you could have taken a completely different path. Right?
You're right.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
Share what happened at that doctor's visit.
Well, there's two separate incidents. One 55 years ago when I was 35 years of age, but another one happened just recently within the past year. I've had a skin disease on my left ear, which was quite large. And it was there for several months. And so I finally got together with a medical doctor that was at a walk-in clinic in Burlington, Ontario. And that doctor, without coming up close, took a look at me from about 10 feet away and said, "Oh, that's a cancer." Now, how would I know that he knows that it's a cancer from 10 feet away? I didn't know that. And I doubted that immediately as soon as he told me that. But that didn't matter. I listened to him. And he said, it's a cancer, and we're going to have to cut off that cancer. It's going to be cut. And I said, cut? Why? Haven't you got something that'll counteract it as a skin disease? He said, no, it's a cancer. It has to be cut out. So I said, thank you very, very much. I left, walked out.
Okay.
Since then, I've been washing my ear, top left ear, every day with hot, clean water. What do you think is happening? It's almost all gone. That so-called cancer has healed itself with plain, clean, hot water. And some soap as well, but very little soap, because I don't believe in it.
Sorry about that. We're live.
Okay, doggy, that's enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, now you've heard a true story about cancer on my body, and I had never get sick, really. At 91 years of age, I never feel sick or get sick.
So
And
was that a confirmed case of cancer?
no.
No. Okay. That was an
It's
assumed.
only what he told me.
Okay.
But we should believe a doctor, correct?
Right. That's what we're trained to believe, right?
That's right. But he was completely wrong. It's healed itself
Okay.
with clean water.
Okay.
Because I decided not to take his advice. I decided to look into it myself. Does that make sense?
It does.
Sure.
So
That's
did you seek any other medical guidance or follow-up to that particular incident after that?
No.
Okay.
The only other guidance I could have gotten was from another doctor. And I have lost my faith in doctors, quite frankly.
Why is that? Why is that?
91 years of age. At 91, I've experienced Well, I had another incident that was much worse 55 years ago, and that led to a cure for me that was life, lifetime, a lifetime long cure.
Okay.
And if you want me to tell you about that, I'd be happy to. That's up to you. If you've
Sure.
got the time, I'll tell you about it.
Okay, so you said that led to losing faith in the medical system. Why is that? Is there other experiences that you learned about that kind of did that kind of led that way for you? Did you already start your natural health journey by that point?
Well, 55 years ago, I had a very serious illness. I couldn't straighten up my body, and I was very wealthy. I was living in Toronto, Ontario at the time, and a wife that cooked well, food that was always good. Um, but the medical doctor at that time said, because you can't stand up straight, we think it's something to do with your vertebrae. So we're going to take some pictures, which he did. And after reviewing those photographs he took, he said to me that we're going to have to operate on your back to get you straight.
Okay.
There's some spots showing up on your vertebrae that have to be cleaned off, which means an operation. And I really didn't believe him, so I wanted to check on it. And I went to the next 2 weeks, at least a month before the operation was to be held. The next 2 weeks I spent in the Toronto Library, in the Etobicoke Library in Toronto, and in Etobicoke, Ontario. Every evening I'd go to the libraries after work. By the way, I work from home. I've always been in sales and working from my computer. Anyway, I decided that after reading some books, scientific journals in the Toronto Library, some old scientific journals about nutrition, because the doctor mentioned something about nutrition in the operation he was going to have. So I decided to check up on nutrition. And there was a lot of literature. I started to read, but I was interested in what the Chinese scientists were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all saying the same thing. Get into mung bean sprouts, because mung beans sprouts are the healthiest food in the world. Well, I'd never heard of that before. I didn't know what a mung bean sprout was. So I said, how do you sprout them? They said, well, put the seeds into a jar. They all said the same thing. Put the seeds into a jar, add water, and they'll grow in 2, 3, or 4 days, depending how much water you use and how old the seeds are and so on, and the grade of the seeds. So anyway, I did that. And I ended up growing sprouts for the first time in my life. I started to eat them the way he said. And they didn't say that you should eat them when they're small or have with a small tail, or whether they should be growing. So I assumed that the more they grow, the healthier they would be.
Mm-hmm.
Well, quite the contrary is true.
Okay.
When a seed grows, that sprout comes out and it grows, it becomes a plant. A plant is worth less than the seed itself, than the sprout itself. Why? Because the sprout is the baby that comes out. At the time of birth of that baby, God in nature gives everything to the baby. But from that point on, genetics take over and the genes start telling the baby what to keep and what they shouldn't keep. This is exactly the way it happens with live babies and with seeds.
Sure.
Seeds are babies like human babies. Anyway, can I continue?
Yeah, share.
Well,
This
this
is information that people are confused about. We don't get this kind of information when we go to the doctor.
you're right. You're absolutely correct. You
We
don't.
need to explore the healthiest ways. So sprouting mung beans is great if you're doing it right. So there's a
Well,
lot we can enhance the way that we consume these if
so
we do it the right way.
so as a result, I started to sprout the seeds. But wasn't told by the scientific journals that I was reading that mold grows very quickly
Mm-hmm.
in sprouts.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, I was getting sick. I didn't know that. And for the next 2 months, I was getting sick as well as healing myself with a sprout.
Oh no.
And the result is that I learned about, I had to go to a doctor for that, a naturopathic doctor though. And that naturopathic
Wait,
doctor said,
why did you choose a naturopathic doctor? Had you already been seeing one?
no, I hadn't. I
Okay.
decided I would try a naturopathic doctor rather than a medical doctor, which I've lost faith in.
Okay.
So the result is that the naturopathic doctor said, the chance is that what you're doing is you're poisoning yourself with mold. And after he explained what was happening and he heard what I was doing, he said, from now on, do it another way. Figure out how to grow a sprout so that the result will be faster and simpler.
Okay.
So I produced my own homemade system at the time,
Okay.
which was very antiquated, but it worked.
Mm-hmm.
And I started to grow them, the sprouts that way with that new system I developed at home. And then I started to get better. And from that time on till 60 years of age, I started to eat sprouts periodically, not every morning or every day, but periodically. And I found that during that time, I never got a stomachache or a headache anymore. I never felt sick anymore. So I said to myself, there's something special about this. There's something special about a sprout, and especially the mung bean sprout,
Mm-hmm.
as the scientists were saying. So I then took that information and decided I would start a company by myself to teach people to eat mung bean sprouts. And I didn't have all the information available like I have now, but at least I started at that time, and I reserved all the names, all the domains with the word sprout grower, because I was going into business, back into business for this, to start this at retirement stage.
So did you ever have that surgery for your back?
I never had the surgery, no,
No.
wasn't necessary, no, wasn't necessary. I healed myself. The mung bean sprouts healed my body. But thank you for asking that and reflecting back on my story, because I get mixed up sometimes.
That's okay.
I'm 91 years of age. I do get mixed up sometimes.
That's okay. That's okay. So what is so special about mung beans? How did they help you? How did they make everything better?
Well, I'll tell you what's special about mung beans. And this refers back to the Bible. Mung beans aren't mentioned in the Bible, but if you start reading the Bible and learning what it says, the Bible says that the Bible has a statement in it that there are people in God's time that grew up to 800 years of age. In other words, 100 years, 200 years, 300 years old, 500. Their names are there. The locations where they lived are in the Bible. So that makes the Bible more authentic, doesn't it? And
Mm-hmm.
more true.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to really start reading the Bible every day. It's very important. Anyway, those statements that I read proved to me that there must have been a certain food that they were eating that the Bible didn't mention. So what I did was I took a look at the areas that those 800-year-old people lived, and I started to investigate what kind of food that they were eating.
Okay.
Well, the only conclusion I could come to after doing a lot of reading was it was the mung bean, the same as the scientific literature I was reading. The mung bean grows in hot countries only. That's what the food was for these people living 809 years of age. And that is how I arrived at the mung bean being a very important food for all of us to eat, sprouted.
What are they providing? What kind of nutrition are we getting from the mung bean sprouts?
Well, I wish I could put that picture up that I have on one page for sprouts. It shows all the nutrients in one sprout. A mung bean sprout has more nutrients in it than any other food in the world. Thousands of nutrients are in it, but I only list about 200 or 150 of them on my advertising.
Okay.
Because it takes up too much room. But a recent study by the University of California is a very interesting study. It just came out 4 months ago, but it was done 4 years ago. But 4 months ago, they decided to publish it openly, and it's a 9-page report worthwhile reading. And it shows so many nutrients in a mung bean that if you add those nutrients lists to my nutrient list, you just can't believe the amount of nutrition that's in one sprout. And there are 7,000 seeds in 1 pound. One seed has all that nutrition in it. So that means 7,000 seeds have 7,000 times that much nutrition in one sprout.
So we don't need that much in a serving then, do we?
We only need 2 or 3 tablespoons of sprouts.
Okay. Is that per day?
And I did a lot of testing during my years eating them. I found that the best time to have them is on an empty stomach in the morning.
Ah.
The stomach is empty from the day before junk that you've been eating all day.
Yeah.
And you can eat all the junk food you want if you eat the sprouts in the morning only, every morning. Why? Because that is the cleanest food, the most nutritious food, and they're serving that to an empty stomach that can digest that food more quickly.
So you're saying to take it every day?
I eat them every day, and I've been doing that now for 27 years.
Okay.
Every morning for 27 years, rigidly, I've been eating sprouts. The reason 27 years, 55 years ago, I wasn't sure about them. By the time 27 years ago arrived, I became pretty damn sure that I want to eat these continuously because they're so nutritious for my body.
Mm-hmm.
The result is that what has happened, my body has not aged like everybody else. I may not sound as old as some older people, but I'm 91 years of age. And believe me, 4 studies have proven that my age is only health-wise 31 years. I'm equal to a 31-year-old person. Now that's pretty interesting, isn't it?
Very interesting. I'm fascinated. Yeah.
That's because of all the sprouts I've eaten.
Okay.
I have not aged like everyone else. Now, I don't know my appearance, what you think about how old I look, but I don't feel as old as I look.
No.
I feel very young, always. I get up early in the morning. In fact, yesterday morning, I was up at 3 o'clock because I had so much work on the computers. I have 2 computers in front of me, 2 white screens on all day long, working on answering letters and so on. I got up at 3 o'clock yesterday morning and worked all day yesterday. and that hurts my eyes terribly. As a result, my eyes need help. And for that, I am taking some um, vitamin pills for eyes only, to
Okay.
strengthen my eyes
Okay.
because of the fact that I'm on the computer so much. I've also changed into proper eyeglasses for the computers.
Blue light blockers.
Pardon?
The blue light blockers.
Yes, the blue
Yeah.
light glasses.
Good.
I spent a lot of money on my eyes, and unfortunately, you have to if you
So
want to.
speaking of money, mung beans are fairly inexpensive. This is a very affordable nutrient source for
Well,
anybody.
I just finished saying that there's 7,500 seeds in 1 pound, correct?
Yeah.
And if there's 7,500 seeds, that's 7,500 multivitamin pills. I eat 1.5 pounds of those seeds a month. That's equal to 10,000 multivitamin pills a month. But I know that most people, 1 pound is quite sufficient. But I do a hell of a lot of work on the computers. And I have about 7 different hard drives with information on them that I've got to keep working on. So my mind has to be very clear, very clean. And I take extra vitamins, extra seeds, which are vitamins. I take extra seeds every damn day to make sure I've got a healthy body. And that's exactly what I do have. And I know that. So
Can you overdo it? Can you take too much?
you cannot take too much. I went on different tests. I tested by eating mung beans only for 1 week. Then I also tested by eating mung beans for a whole month and nothing else. All I did was make myself feel healthier, but nothing else. Mentally feeling healthier. I don't think I could have improved my health, but I did take that much to find out what it was like.
Okay.
But I happen to love what my parents, my mother and father were Austrian background, living in Hungary. There were farmers here in Canada. I was raised on a farm. And I could tell you a lot of stories from that point on, believe me. And maybe somebody would like to hear them someday.
Mm-hmm.
But quite frankly, it's I've learned that I like my mother's cooking. So I eat every day after the sprouts in the morning. I eat all my mother's type cooking in the afternoon and evening. I buy it from stores that produce it. I cook it myself. I wish I had someone here to cook for me, but I don't have. See, no lady wants to keep up with me. I'd love to have one, believe me, because the most important thing in any person's life is the love of another person.
That's right. We need
Very,
that
very important.
exchange of energy. Yep.
Yeah. So that's something I can give to someone if they're interested.
Okay, we'll put an ad out. We'll
Please,
tag
I've
that.
tried that, not been successful. Anyway, here I am, 91 years of age, going on 92 now, getting towards it. And I feel like a young man, 31 years of age. I really do.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel old. I don't feel sick. I'm healthy. And I've done every test you can think of to make sure that my sprouting system, which grows sprouts in 1 day, you put the seeds in tonight. Tomorrow night, you're eating them already. It's only 1 day's work, and there's no mold. It never collects mold because you don't have to pre-soak them. All you do is put your dry seeds into the sprouter tonight, and tomorrow night you're eating clean food.
Mm-hmm.
1 day on your kitchen counter, your own clean water. How can you beat that? You can't, can you?
Can't beat it. No, you can't. So because this is a food, this is safe and appropriate for children, teens,
Children love it.
anyone, right? It's
They're-
not for
The
adults.
mild, sweet taste. How much nicer can you get a salad that's mild and sweet?
Yeah.
And I have them every morning. I put I have a small bowl. I put cottage cheese at the bottom of the bowl. I put 2 or 3 tablespoons of sprouts on top of the cottage cheese. And then I sprinkle some maple syrup on top of that. Delicious. And
Yeah.
I have that every morning. That's my breakfast.
You just gave away your secret recipe.
Yeah, well, it's on my one of my websites. By the way, I started with 24 websites. I taught myself how to do my own website. I
Okay.
didn't rely on others. I
Okay.
became a webmaster. But I ended up with 6 basic ones that are running all the time. One has to do with ballroom dancing because that's my sport. I happen to be an excellent ballroom dancer. I was a teacher at one time. I did a lot of uh, dancing competitions and made a lot of money that way. So much money that I was able to go on 58 cruises in my life. That's where all my money went, on cruises,
Mm-hmm.
ballroom dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And I still like to go this Christmas. And I could show I could demonstrate to the cruise industry how they could put on 2,000 people on the ship and none of them would get sick. None of them would have to eat anything else but the mung beans in the morning. And they would start that way the first day they get on the ship. From that time on, for a 2-week cruise, they're home free. They have no problem with any kind of disease or a virus. Viruses cannot, well, by the way, if you know a little bit about God, if you're a Christian, I want you to know, if you get a cut on your finger, God or your body will heal that cut by itself. You don't have to put anything on it. It'll heal itself. If you get sick with any sickness, it doesn't matter what it is, your body will heal that sickness if you eat this kind of food every day, because that's what your body is made of. God produced a body that can heal itself. All you have to do is feed the right food to the body.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what a sprout is.
Mm-hmm.
Every morning of your life. You cannot go wrong with that, believe me.
No, I believe you. And I appreciate you sharing that with everybody. Thank you for being here and taking us from that point of having a probable or an assumed diagnosis that you just knew in your gut, you knew instinctively that it wasn't true, and then you found your opportunity with the help of God and what God has provided us on this beautiful earth to heal your body on its own terms, in its own way, by the gifts that God has given us. Everything that we need is right here and has already been provided to us. Of course, emergency medicine is there for emergencies, but it is not something that we need to visit initially when we're trying to heal ourselves. When we have the opportunity to take a step back, to understand what it is that we believe in, where our values are, and what we are capable of doing. When we provide everything that the body needs, the body will use that ammo to heal itself. Right?
Right. Wait a minute. What's happened? I've got something in front of my screen. Okay, there you go. You're absolutely correct. I really appreciate the time you gave me on this is the first time I've ever been on a web show with anyone. And that's wonderful that you've got that opportunity for someone like me who wants to get their message out.
Well, at 91 years old, I feel like you've got something to share with someone or a lot of people. That's a pretty big accomplishment these days in this world with the way people think nowadays and the stress that we're under. If we just take a step back and get back to the basics, go back to the roots, revisit what God gave us, and understand that it is the mind connected to the body. And when we feed and fuel them both appropriately, we have the opportunity to heal. So there's sprouts everywhere. We talk about sprouts. They're in the stores. They're all over the place. They've got long, curly sprouts, but that just because you find it in the store that way doesn't necessarily mean that's the right way. So I appreciate you telling us and sharing the right way to eat them, the right way to grow them. We will, for those of you who are interested, I'm going to provide links to Tony's grower, his sprout grower, so that you can go ahead and order. We have had ours for years. We met years back in Toronto, and we've been sprouting mung beans for my husband and I, for our kids, for several years now. And it's just a regular part of the day. It's just something that we are constantly, but we work for natural immunity. That's our goal. Everything that we do is nature first, with God, healing God's way, harvesting nature first and foremost, with the understanding that the body wants to heal itself. So I appreciate your time, Tony. With your permission, we're going to share your links and any other information you feel appropriate. And any questions, you'll have Tony's information. You can reach out to him or to me. And I appreciate your time and thank you for being here.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.